From far and wide, Oilers fans, this is Dolynny TV. And welcome back to another edition of Edmonton Oilers discussion here on Dolynny TV. I'm Tyson. This is, like I said, Dolynny TV, as we will get going along for a big one. This one is a little bit one I've had planned for a little while, but first I think no matter if I planned on doing a breakdown or not, considering I was unable to watch the game last night, going over to my brother's was out of the question because he had some company over. So, without further ado, I guess what I'm saying is Oilers won, and the more important headline out of this Oilers victory is a second place spot in the Pacific Division for the Edmonton Oilers. Yes, oh how sweet it is, my friends. We are there. We are there at long last. Now we're 3 points back of the Calgary Flames for first place in the Pacific Division. Life is getting good for the Edmonton Oilers under Ken Hitchcock all of a sudden. Now, mind you, this is where I got to keep you kind of level-headed. 5th through 2nd is separated by 1 point. 3 of those teams have 39 points, the Oilers being one of them, and the Ducks, Sharks being the other two, while the Golden Knights have 38. So you got to keep that in mind. We may be tied for second in points, but we could be very easily behind the 8 ball pretty quickly if we lose a game. It's as simple as that. So guys, today talking about the Oilers' depth, and the Oilers' depth is kind of this I don't know, hard topic to explain, right? Because you come into camp, who are your depth players? You've got Alex Chiasson on PTO, you've got Jason Garrison on PTO, you've got Kevin Gravel that you signed, you've got Tobias Reeder coming in hoping to be an impact player. Spooner comes in via trade. Ty Ratty, yes, he was a first liner at end the year last year, comes into camp playing first line minutes, but we're not sure what we're going to get out of him. A lot of guys still skeptical over him. So you know what, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to focus on 4 guys. I will talk about Zykov for a second, and maybe I should address Zykov right now. Zykov was just kind of a pickup in case, almost an insurance policy by the looks of it for the Oilers, right? Because without Kajula, without Reeder, it could have been very dicey to not have a good quality forward who's played NHL games up there. And Zykov, you know what, comes in, fills in, looked good, but I don't think good enough to hold a spot in the lineup full time, and that's obviously why the Oilers have rolled the lines they have the past couple of nights. Last thing I should do is definitely look up Drake Caggiula's stats too. I have everyone else except for Drake Caggiula, so pardon me a second here, as we'll go let the cat outside and get right back to it. Sorry, boys. That is the difficulty of living with the old pets in the room sometimes. So Drake Caggiula, let's talk about Caggiula because that's the next guy up. I mentioned after Valentin Zykov. Caggiula, well, he's had 10 points in 25 games played so far this year. He's been on the shelf twice, I believe, so far this year. So he's had a kind of a bumpy go of the NHL season so far. But now, the thing with Caggiula is it's not so much what can he bring, it's where can he bring it. Is he a 4th line guy? Is he a 2nd line guy? 3rd line guy? Honestly, if Chiasson fails, do you throw him back up there with McDavid and hope he produces something again? I don't know. Honestly, we've seen it all from Drake Caggiula in his time with the Oilers at this point. I think if him, Spooner, and Reeder can get a connection going and really start tearing it up, imagine the 3rd line, the identity line, and then you've got Spooner, Reeder, and Caggiula absolutely lighting it up as well. That would be huge for the Oilers. That leaves the top 2 lines to do their thing, and man, we'd be stirring it up no problem for the Oilers right there. So Drake Caggiula, realistic expectation for him is just to continue on, keeping on. Like 10 points, 25 games played, that is not as bad as I would imagine for a guy that's been in his situation at times this year, right? So 10 divided by 25, even if he plays, say, 60 games this year, that's still 24 points out of Drake Caggiula. And if he's going to be on the 4th line, I can stomach 24 points out of Drake Caggiula this year. So guys, that's kind of realistic expectation. Anywhere between 24 to 35 points for Drake Caggiula, and I think I'd be very happy. Because as soon as he surpasses 20 points, you know what? All of a sudden, he's got a new career high, and that's huge. So let's go talk to another guy who's been part of the Oilers' depth plan, a guy I mentioned right off the top as well, Alex Chiasson. Because this guy comes into camp, PTO, lowest earning player on the team, and somehow in 27 games played this year has 14 goals. His shooting percentage is off the charts. I don't even want to look at it, how crazy it is. 14 goals, 4 assists, 18 points. New career high in goals for Chiasson, and I mean, that's saying every year in the NHL where he's played more than half the season, he's played a minimum of 60 games. There's one season in Dallas where he played 12-13 and played 7 games, but every other year he's played at least 79, 76, 77, 81, 61, and now all of a sudden in 27 games with the Edmonton Oilers, he has 14 goals. Realistically, like honestly, you can't expect that to absolutely continue for Alex Chiasson, but when you take 18 divided by 27 and say, okay, he's getting 2/3 of a point a game. If he continues that pace over even 65 games this year, 45 points out of Alex Chiasson is absolutely fine and dandy with me. 45 points, I mean, you're probably going to budget him about 25 to 30 goals and about 15 to 18 assists on the year. Somewhere in those ballparks is what I'd be thinking, especially playing with McDavid and Draisaitl if he does all year. Those are massive numbers. That's Patrick Maroon type numbers for Alex Chiasson, and that's exactly what the Oilers need. If they want Draisaitl on McDavid's wing, they need a Chiasson, a Maroon, somebody who has that almost sixth sense when the puck is in front of the net just to bash it in and get the job done. Patrick Maroon, you know what, that year going to the playoffs, he seemed to really turn it on late, and he really had that sense for that high slot shot that started just going in for him all of a sudden, and that was beautiful to see. So guys, that's my expectation for Chiasson. Now Reeder just returned from injury. I haven't been able to watch one of his games yet, but 7 assists in 20 games so far. Not exactly what you'd hope out of Reeder. However, 20 games in Los Angeles last year, he only had 4 goals and 2 assists. So keep that in mind. And for Tobias Reeder, the biggest benefit for the Oilers is having him out there on the penalty kill, especially, pardon me, now that Klefbom and Russell are on the shelf for a little while. That's not a good thing for the defense, but if you can get an offensive forward who also can kill penalties and have speed for days on the penalty kill, is going to be massive. So Tobias Reeder, my realistic expectation, hold steady on the penalty kill. And you know what, honestly, I'm not even going to do the math on the calculator. If he can get anywhere between 23 to about 30 points the rest of the way home, so like honestly 23 points is exactly what I'd be happy with, 30 points the high end of what I'd be happy with, that would be massive for Tobias Reeder, and he could move up and down the lineup, right? You think about him on the second line with Jesse Puljujärvi and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. If Jujhar Khaira needs to be moved down because he's not producing, there are a couple of options there. And honestly, I've already excluded Jujhar Khaira from my talk today. So obviously I'm very, very, very happy with Jujhar Khaira at this point, guys. So 2 other guys that need to kind of step up, step in kind of deal. Ryan Spooner, who has been on the power play of late for Mr. Ken Hitchcock, head coach of the Edmonton Oilers. Spooner, 2 goals, 1 assist, 3 points in 14 games with the Oilers. He has 1 more point in 2 less games than he did with New York at the start of this year. Now that's to say Ryan Strome's doing better over in New York with the Rangers. However, Spooner has found a role like Lucic and is starting to excel in it. And now that he's got proper line mates in Caggiula and Reeder, who knows what's about to happen here. These guys could start going off like no tomorrow, and that's what I'm really hoping for. I've already touched on that with Caggiula. So Spooner, if he can finish the year, like I said, same range as Caggiula and Reeder, 23 to 30 points. That is massive for the Edmonton Oilers. Now a guy that kind of is the odd man out right now, he'll get back in when there's an injury type deal. Ty Rattie. What happened? Man, that preseason, things were looking good. But 19 games played so far this year. 2 goals, 2 assists, 4 points. Did have the injury. You got to think he's been a little bit affected by just not having consistency in his diet for hockey games this year. However, I think with Rattie, all it'll take is if he gets in the lineup, start potting a couple, maybe the Oilers start dealing Tobias Reeder at some point. I'm not sure. That's maybe a little bit like too crazy out there for you guys at this point. But I think Tyratty, all it takes is 1, 2, 3, couple of hand claps with some boys, and all of a sudden he's got himself a full-time roster spot. Ken Hitchcock did say he wants him to be a top 6 forward, so I won't do a points projection for Tyratty, but I'd say even if he could get 25 points this year, if he finds that spot, that's huge. So guys, I'm Tyson, this is Dolynny TV. As always, definitely make sure to let me know what you have to say in the comments section down below. This has just been kind of my realistic expectations from me for the Oilers' depth this year. I will catch you guys, as always, in the next one.